Okay, so in this video, what I would like to do is to help you through how to create a hypothesis for the BIMS case study. Now, the one thing to remember, and this is very, very, very important, a hypothesis is actually a pretty simple statement. Basically, what you do is you take your survey and you identify the variables. So since you didn't create this survey, you have to kind of back into what those variables could be. And I'll show you here in a moment how I've done it. And this may not be exactly how you approach it, but it is a way of doing it. So this survey has different variables that it's testing, and after you come up with these variables, you can then create a hypothesis using this structure. So you would insert variable, whatever your variable is contributing to turnover at BIMS. That could be a way that you say it. So now let's take a look at the survey itself and try to determine what our lovely variables are. So that first question where it says, how well do you enjoy working for BIMS? I would call that as a variable, enjoy work. Okay, enjoy your assigned shift. Enjoy shift. Your request for your desired shift was fulfilled. I called that requested shift. So you can see that I've come up with at least some types of variables over on the right hand side that correspond with the questions and the demographics that are being tracked in the survey itself. Now I want you to note, if you haven't already, there are certain questions on this survey that you should ignore. You should not calculate any statistics for them, etc. We'll actually be talking in class as to why that is. That will be one of my conversation questions, discussion questions that I post, where I think it will be important to understand why I want you to ignore them. And a lot of it has to do with the design of the question and the purpose of the question, etc. But we'll talk about that more in the classroom itself. But beyond that, at least these are the types of variables that you could have as you analyze this survey. Now, you can have a multitude of hypotheses. Now, here's some examples where you have one could be communication is causing turnover. That was one of our variables. Or people employed less than 5 years are more likely to resign. That could be a hypothesis. Or women in the food department are more likely to leave. Those could be examples that you use. Now here are some suggestions, and I highly recommend that you think about these. We only have 3 weeks that we actually look at the BIMS case study. Weeks 2 and 3 are related and combined. In the weeks 2 and 3, you may or may not use that information in week 5, because week 5 has a different survey, although some of the questions are the same. So you may or may not use information from the weeks 2 and 3 paper at all in week 5. And here's the more important one. Since we have such a short amount of time in the class, what I want you to do in week 2 is to make sure that you have just one hypothesis. You could have lots, because we have 14 different variables. So you could actually come up with, over 100 different hypotheses, but I don't want you to do that, and I don't want you to drive yourself crazy, because I want you to actually pick one. So for example, if you picked communication as your hypothesis to some degree, then there might be 1 or 2, maybe 3 of the questions that you actually analyze to try and take a look at that one hypothesis. In other words, you would not be crunching numbers on every single question, because it would be redundant, it would be not useful, because a lot of these questions don't relate to communication being your hypothesis. So I hope this helps. We'll talk a lot about the hypothesis. You'll have an opportunity in the classroom to talk about what your hypothesis is, so that I can give you feedback that it's actually on track for the assignment and that you have done basically the process of what this video talks about. So you'll have every opportunity to to at least vet what it is that you want to do and to make sure that you're on the right track before you go through all the work, submit the assignment, and you're off target. I don't want that to happen for you. So if you have questions, please feel free to ask them in the classroom, and you can also ask questions here on the YouTube channel. All right, and I look forward to talking to you in class. Thanks.